Good morning everyone. My name is Candy Galvante. I will be discussing about work and employment. This topic comprises of its nature, theories, organizational factors up to the first part of the employment relationship. The nature of work. Work is the exertion of effort and the application of knowledge and skills to achieve a purpose. Most people work to earn a living, to make money, but they also work because of the other satisfaction it brings, such as doing something worthwhile, a sense of achievement, prestige, recognition, the opportunity to use and develop abilities, the scope to exercise power and companionship. Within organizations, the nature of the work carried out by individuals and what they feel about it are governed by the employment relationship and the psychological contract. Theories about work. The theories about work consist of labor process theory, agency theory, and exchange theory. The concept of the pluralist and unitarist frame of reference is also considered. Labor process theory was originally formulated by Karl Marx, translated in 1976. His thesis was that surplus is appropriated from labor by paying it less than the value it adds to the labor process. Capitalists therefore designed the labor process to secure the extraction of surplus value. The human capacity to produce is subordinated to the exploitative demands of the capitalist, which is an alien power confronting the worker who becomes a crippled by furthering his skill as if in a forcing house through the suppression of a whole world of productive drives and inclination. Marx believes that each individual owns his or her own labor. No man can or should own another man's body or his labor. Profit belongs to the laborer, not the capitalist, who controls the means of production. Profit that is not shared with the laborer is inherently exploitative. Communism claims to transfer the ownership of the means of production of the state so that the profits of labor can be shared with the laborers. Later, a version of labor process theory was set out by Braverman. The application of modern management techniques in combination with mechanization and automation secures the real subordination of labor and the skilling of work in the office. Recent commentators such as Newton and Finlay believes that labor process theory explains how managements have at their disposal a range of mechanisms through which control is exercised. Job performance and its assessment is at the heart of the labor process. Managements, according to Newton and Finlay, are constantly seeking ways to improve the effectiveness of control mechanisms to achieve compliance. Agency theory. Agency or principal-agent theory indicates that principals have to develop ways of monitoring and controlling the activities of their agents. Agency theory suggests that principals may have problems in ensuring the agents do what they are told. It is necessary to clear up ambiguities by setting objectives and monitoring performance to ensure the objectives are achieved. Agency theory has been criticized by Gomez Mejia and Balkin in 1992 as managerialist. As Armstrong in 1996 wrote, it looks at the employment relationship purely from management point of view and regards employees as objects to be motivated by carrot and stick. It is a dismal theory which suggests that people cannot be trusted. Examples of agency theory are like government versus masses, employer versus employees, owners versus management. Number 3, exchange theory sets out to explain organizational behavior in terms of the rewards and costs incurred in the interaction between employers and employees. Social exchange theory is an economic theory. We form a relationship if it was rewarding, we attempt to maximize our rewards and minimize our cost. The rewards minus the cost equals the outcome. We commit to the relationship if the outcome is profitable. These are the 4 concepts of the exchange theory. Number 1, rewards, payoff that satisfy needs emerging from the interaction between individuals and their organizations. Number 2, cost. Fatigue is stress, anxiety, punishments, and the value of rewards that people have lost because of lack of opportunity. Number 3, outcomes. Rewards minus cost. If positive, the interaction yields a profit, and this is satisfactory as long as it exceeds the minimum level of expectation. Number 4, level of comparison. It is the people evaluate the outcome of an interaction against the profit they are foregoing elsewhere. Unitary and pluralist frames of reference. One of the often expressed aims of human resource management is to increase the commitment of people to the organization by getting them to share its views and values and integrate their own work objectives with those of the organization. This concept adopts a unitary frame of reference. As expressed by Jennard and Judge in 1997, organizations are assumed to be harmonious and integrated. All employees sharing the organizational goals and working as members of one team. The pluralist perspective, as expressed by Sayard and Marsh in 1963, sees organizations as coalitions of interest groups and recognizes the legitimacy of different interests and values. Organizational development programs, which, amongst other things, aim to increase commitment and teamwork, adopt a unitary framework, but it can be argued that this is a managerialist assumption and that the legitimate interests of the other members of a pluralist society, the stakeholders, will have their own interests, which should be respected. Organizational factors affecting work. The nature of work changes as organizations change in response to new demands and environmental pressures. Three of the most important factors are the lean organization, the changed role of the process worker, and the flexible firm. The lean organization. The term lean production was popularized by Womack and Jones in 1970 in The Machine That Changed the World. But the drive for leaner methods of working was confined initially to the car industry. In the classic case of Toyota, one of the pioneers of lean production, or more loosely, world-class manufacturing, 7 forms of waste were identified, which had to be eliminated. These were overproduction, waiting, transporting, overprocessing, inventories moving, and making defective parts of products. Lean production aims to add value by minimizing waste in terms of materials, time, space, and people. Production systems associated with leanness include just-in-time, supply chain management, material resources planning, and zero defects. Right first time. Business process reengineering programs often accompany drives for leaner methods of working, and totally quality management approaches are used to support drives for greater levels of customer satisfaction and service. Lean means creating more value for customers with fewer resources. The concept of leanness has since been extended to non-manufacturing organizations. This can often be number-driven and is implemented by means of a reduction in headcounts and reduction in the number of levels of management and supervision, the layering. Firms select from a menu the methods that meet their particular business needs. This includes, other than the layering or the negative approach of downsizing, positive steps such as team-based work organization, shop floor empowerment, and problem-solving practices, quality built-in, not inspected in, emphasis on horizontal business processes rather than vertical structures, partnership relationship with suppliers, cross-functional management and development teams, responsiveness to customer demand, human resource management policies aimed at high motivation and commitment, and including communication programs and participation in decision making. This is an illustration of traditional organization structure. On the top is the CEO down to managers, supervisors, and operators. Second factor affecting work is the changing role of the process worker. The management structure is designed in response to technological advances and competitive pressures are transforming the role of process workers. Increasing automation and the application of new technologies to the production process mean that low-skilled manual jobs continue to disappear and that process workers are becoming progressively less involved in manual operating tasks. Instead, they are being given more responsibility for the processes they work on, while being expected to become more customer and business oriented, and in many cases, to carry out simple engineering and maintenance tasks. Third is the flexible firm. The concept of the flexible firm was originated by Atkinson in 1984, who claimed that there is a growing trend for firms to seek various forms of structural and operational flexibility. The three kinds of flexibility areas are as follows. Number one, functional flexibility is so that employees can be redeployed quickly and smoothly between activities and tasks. Functional flexibility may require multi-skilling craft workers who possess and can apply a number of skills covering, for example, both mechanical and electrical engineering or manufacturing and maintenance activities. Numerical flexibility is sought so that the number of employees can be quickly and easily increased or decreased in line with even short-term changes in the level of demand for labor. Third is the financial flexibility, which is to provide for pay levels to reflect the state of supply and demand in the external labor market, and also means the use of flexible pay systems that facilitate either functional or numerical flexibility. Changing patterns of work. The most important developments over the past decade have been considerable increase in the use of part-timers, a marked propensity for organizations to subcontract work and to outsource services, and greater requirements for specialists and professionals in organizations. Teleworking has increased and call center work has expanded. Example of new working patterns are like teleworking, outsourcing, and portfolio working. Changing patterns of work is like change in occupations. Under the pressure to be competitive and to achieve cost leadership, organizations are not only downsizing but also engaging people on short-term contracts and make no pretense that they are there to provide careers. They want a specific contribution to achieving organizational goals now, and so far as people are concerned, they may let the future take care of itself, believing that they can purchase the talent required as and when necessary. This may be short-sighted, but it is the way many businesses now operate. Economists are unable to agree on the causes of or cures for unemployment. The essence of the Keynesian explanation is that firms demand too little labor because individuals demand too few goods. The classical view was that unemployment was voluntary and could be cleared by natural market forces. The neoclassical theory is that there is a natural rate of unemployment, which reflects a given rate of technology, individual preferences, and endowments. With flexible wages in a competitive labor market, wages adjust to clear the market, and any unemployment that remains is voluntary. The latter view was that held by Milton Friedman and strongly influenced government policy in the early 1980s. But without success, there is of course no simple explanation of unemployment and no simple solution. The term employment relationship describes the interconnection that exists between employers and employees in the workplace. These may be formal, example contracts of employment, procedural agreements, or they may be informal in the shape of psychological contract, which expresses certain assumptions and expectations about what managers and employer have to offer and are willing to deliver. They can have an individual dimension, which refers to individual contracts and expectation, or a collective dimension, which refers to a relationship between management and trade unions, staff associations, or members of joint consultative bodies such as work councils. The parties are managers, employees, and employee representatives. The substance incorporates the job, rewards, and careers of individuals and the communications and culture of the organizations as it affects them. It can also include collective agreements and joint employer relations machinery. The formal dimension includes rules and procedures, and the informal aspect covers understanding, expectation, and assumptions. Finally, the employment relationship exists at different levels in an organization. The operation of the relationship will also be affected by processes such as communications and consultation, and by the management style prevailing throughout the organization or adopted by individual managers. This is an illustration of the dimensions of the employment relationship as described by Kessler and Andy in 1996. The employment relationship parties are the managers, employees representatives. The substance are the individual, which is the job, reward, career, communications, culture, and collective joint agreements, joint machinery. The structure is the formal rules, procedures, informal understandings, expectations, and assumptions, and its operation is the level, process, and style. Basis of the employment relationship. The starting point of the employment relationship is an undertaking by an employee to provide skill and effort to the employer, in return for which the employer provides the employee with a salary or a wage. Initially, the relationship is founded on a legal contract. This may be a written contract, but the absence of such a contract does not mean that no contractual relationship exists. Employers and employees still have certain implied legal rights and obligations. The employer's obligations include the duty to pay salary or wages, to provide a safe workplace, to act in good faith towards the employee, and not to act in such a way as to undermine the trust and confidence of the employment relationship. The employee has corresponding obligations which include obedience, competence, honesty, and loyalty. An important factor to remember about the employment relationship is that generally it is the employer who has the power to dictate the contractual terms unless they have been fixed by collective bargaining. Individuals, except when they are much in demand, have little scope to vary the terms of the contract imposed upon them by employers. Defining the employment relationship. The two types of contract defining the employment relationship have been distinguished by McNeil in 1985 and Russo and Wade Benzoni in 1994. Transactional contracts have well-described terms of exchange, which are usually expressed financially. They are of limited duration with specified performance requirements. The relational contracts are less well-defined with more abstract terms and refer to an open-ended membership of the organization. Performance requirements attached to discontinuing membership are incomplete or ambiguous. However, the employment relationships can also be expressed in terms of psychological contract, which, according to Guzzo and Newman in 1994, has both transactional and relational qualities. The concept of a psychological contract expresses the view that at its most basic level, the employment relationship consists of a unique combination of beliefs held by an individual and his or her employer about what they expect of one another. That ends my discussion. Thank you for listening. The next reporter will be Miss Mitzel Erica Kaisip for further discussion. Thank you.